think we can start. So if you may allow me, I would like first of all to welcome all the participants to today's session, which is really an important session because we're going to be discussing the achievement, but also the challenges in crime prevention and criminal justice in Armenia. I wish, first of all, really to express my gratitude to His Excellency, the Ambassador of Armenia in Vienna, Mr. Armen Papikyan, and to my colleague, the Regional Representative of Central Asia, Ms. Ashita Mittal, for co-organizing this very important event. Recently here in Armenia, we had the privilege to co-organize with the Minister of Justice, with all the development partners, also a coordination meeting where we were briefed on all the progress and challenges that Armenia is facing in reforming its justice system based on human rights. And following that meeting, already action had been taken. The minister has put in place different task forces, and I'm very pleased to see that civil society, development partners are all joining, but also all my UN colleagues with the various expertise. So there's a lot happening. So this discussion today is going to be important. Dear colleagues, as you all know, the SDGs goals and targets are directly linked to this topic today, from the prevention of violence against women and children to the rule of law, to justice, to the reduction of illicit financial flow, to drugs and arms flow derived from criminal activity, fighting corruption, terrorism, as well as supporting good governance, independent justice, and human rights. As you know, here in Armenia, the United Nations, including obviously my colleagues from UNODC, we are collaborating with the government of Armenia and other partners. We have established and signed a cooperative framework from 2021 to 2025, which is responding to the priority of the government. And one of the big priorities is obviously the reform of the justice system. And like I said, we are fully supporting, but also I would like to really congratulate Armenia. Armenia has embarked as a new democracy, a vibrant democracy, and has already taken a step this week. As you have probably heard, Armenia has adopted a new criminal procedure code, which will come into effect in July. But also, I'm just giving some example, has also established an anti-corruption committee. So I'm going to stop here because we're here to listen to the keynote speaker, and we will have a rich discussion to learn about the good practices, challenges, and lesson learned. So Ali, so over to you.
Thank you, Lila. Big thanks to the Resident Coordinator's Office for taking the initiative to host this event on the margins of the 31st session of the Commission on Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice. And I also want to thank the Government of Armenia for co-hosting it. A very special thanks also goes to the Permanent Mission of Armenia in Vienna for supporting it. This is extremely important that we come together. We are honored and privileged to have with us, as I said, our resident coordinator, Lila Pejas-Yahya, and the UN resident coordinator in Armenia, and also Excellency, Mr. Armen Papikyan, the Ambassador Extraordinary Plenipotentiary of the Republic of Armenia to Austria, and Permanent Representative of Armenia to the UN and the OSCE organizations, including the UN organizations such as UNODC, and also our distinguished keynote speakers from Armenian government agencies, UNDP and UNODC, the CAST network. The purpose of today's event is to share good practices of Armenia based on scientific data and contributes to evidence-informed discussions. Global experience and achievements of SDGs shows that crime prevention and effective human rights-based criminal justice institutions are key for addressing violence against women, urban security, illicit trafficking of drugs, arms, goods, illicit financial flows, and wildlife, reducing violent crimes, corruption, organized crime, and reducing reoffending rates, countering trafficking in persons, and ensuring access to justice and rule of law for the most vulnerable and marginalized. As was shared by the resident coordinator, Armenia is taking incremental steps in addressing multiple challenges that it has, and we very well would like to listen to many of the examples from the government. We also acknowledge that human rights are the fundamental basis for sustainable development and peace. as well as for building strong, resilient and inclusive and successful societies. I believe that there can be no sustainable development without rule of law, and there can be no rule of law without human rights. Dear ladies and gentlemen, today we have a unique opportunity to listen to the presentations for distinguished partners and also the multiple agencies that are also looking at interagency cooperation to get the results. UNODC ROCA enjoys cooperation with UNCT in Armenia, national partners and international development community. We are glad that our UNDP colleagues will share joint UN results in criminal justice sector today. Armenia engages in global UNODC WCO container control program to counter illicit drugs and organized crime while facilitating legitimate trade. An MOU on cooperation and participation of Armenia in the CCP was signed in June 2021. I was glad that I was there. It was a great opportunity for me to also interact with our partners. Armenia is an active participant of UNODC's Judicial Cooperation Network for Central Asia and Southern Caucasus, the CASC network, and focal points from Armenia are involved in information sharing for effective and international judicial cooperation and take part in discussions on strategic issues related to effective, efficient, and mutual legal assistance and extradition. UNODC ROCA is developing country-specific action plans, or what we call roadmaps, on cooperation with all of the countries in Central Asia and the Southern Caucasus, including with Armenia, and we're looking forward to this partnership. Dear colleagues and partners, may I request our distinguished speakers to limit their statements to 3 to 5 minutes. The working language for this session will be English and Armenian with simultaneous interpretation. And now it's my proud privilege to invite His Excellency Ambassador Armen Papikian, the permanent representative of Armenia to the UN in Vienna, and for delivering his welcoming remarks. Over to you, Excellency.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Moderator, ladies and gentlemen, Excellencies, colleagues. I would like to welcome you all to this side event co-organized by the UN Resident Coordinator's Office in Armenia, UNODC Regional Office for Central Asia, and Permanent Mission of Armenia to the UNODC and other international organizations in Vienna. As you rightly pointed out, Madam Moderator, the aim of this side event is to present the achievement of Armenia in the area of crime prevention and criminal justice, as well as challenges that we still face and need to address them. And I would like to particularly thank Ms. Lila Pietra Yahya for her welcome speech, and also Ms. Ashita Mittal for her introductory remarks and for moderating the side event. Dear colleagues, Armenia values the important mandate of the UNODC as the primary UN entity tasked with assisting member states in preventing crime and depriving criminals of safe havens through capacity building, research and analysis of crime trends and development of standards and norms. We reiterate our strong support to this mandate as framework for our collective efforts to counter crimes and advance the implementation of the 2013 Agenda for Sustainable Development. With this understanding, Armenia has been steadily working towards expanding the scope of our bilateral cooperation with the UNODC, with the view to benefit from the vast knowledge, expertise and experience of the office, which is much needed for effective implementation of the relevant areas of Armenia's reform agenda, which is a crucial national endeavor. This side event is an opportunity to talk about achievements and challenges of Armenia in such areas as comprehensive legislative reforms of the national criminal justice system, combating corruption, fighting drug trafficking and other forms of crime, which will shortly be presented by distinguished panelists. They will also touch upon the cooperation of Armenia with the UN and in the field of criminal justice, as well as discuss the role of mutual legal assistance and judicial cooperation in crime prevention and criminal justice in Armenia. Thus, without further ado, I once again welcome all participants to this side event and wish you interesting discussions. And I thank you very much, Madam Moderator.
Thank you, Excellency. And now it's my proud privilege to invite our keynote speakers to deliver their presentations. It's really a unique opportunity for us to hear from you. Let me first invite Ms. Arpin Sargsyan, the Deputy Minister of Justice of Armenia, to deliver a presentation on preventing and combating crime, comprehensive legislative reforms of national criminal justice system in Armenia. Over to you, Madam.
Thank you, Ms. Moderator, Excellencies, distinguished colleagues. Firstly, I would like to express our appreciation to the UNODC as well as to the UN in Armenia and the permanent mission of the Republic of Armenia to the United States offices in Vienna for organizing this great side event. Strengthening democracy and the rule of law is the basis of the government reform agenda. In line with the Kyoto Declaration, we continue our multi-sectoral efforts towards preventing crime and improving our criminal justice system. In this context, the Armenian government has put at the heart of its criminal justice reform a human-centered and human-oriented approach with the objective of transition from a punitive to restorative justice. This is reflected with the criminal and criminal procedure codes, which were adopted last year and will enter into force on the 1st of July. We implemented relevant international standards, best practices in this new legislation. During the drafting process, international expertise was provided by the Council of Europe, by the European Union. We have also had discussions with our colleagues from the UNHCR representation in Armenia, as well as comprehensive meetings with governmental bodies and the community of advocates with the support of the UNDP in Armenia. In terms of certain regulations, here are some of the key institutions that the new legislation provides. Alternatives to imprisonment, as well as detention, such as house arrest, administrative supervision, limitation of freedom, which will be carried out using electronic monitoring devices and will incite the improvement of the probation system and rehabilitation of offenders, as well as decrease in prison population. Criminal liability of legal persons, which will enter into force on the 1st of January 2023, providing inter alia more effective mechanisms for fighting corruption and organized crime. A broader and clearer definition of a public official to increase the effectiveness of the fight against corruption. Proceedings conducted in the absence of the accused, allowing an investigation to be conducted in cases where the accused evades it. Agreement proceedings, allowing to agree on the sentence to be imposed, compensation for damages, return of property of criminal origin. Cooperation proceedings, well-known plea bargaining, aimed at improving the detection of crimes and encouraging the accused to cooperate with the authorities in return for receiving a lenient sentence or being released from punishment in general. Definition of child pornography, criminal liability for grooming. Separate regulations for juveniles addressing their rights, special needs, and vulnerabilities. In particular, the new criminal code addresses the effective rehabilitation, rights and needs of children, as well as young offenders under the age of 21. The code inter alia provides such measures as continuation of education, employment of a person who has committed a crime between the ages of 18 and 21 through the support of local government, participation in special educational, sporting, cultural or public program or event or rehabilitation program at a rehabilitation facility. Besides, the new criminal procedure code guarantees the participation of a trained psychologist in investigative actions involving children, which will help to avoid re-victimization of children and to protect their rights and interests, of course. Parallel to the implementation of the new criminal and criminal procedure codes, and as a continuation of our criminal justice reform, we have also developed the draft of the new penitentiary code, which has passed already today, the first hearing in National Assembly. The provisions of the draft have been developed based on the relevant international standards, including UN standards, CPT standards, and etc. The draft provides regulations concerning the issues raising in the face of execution judgments, individual sentence planning, risk and need assessment, suicide and self-harm risk assessment, medical examination and health care of the people deprived of their liberty, and etc. These three codes will enter into force simultaneously to ensure the effectiveness of the reform. We have also initiated the harmonization of Armenian legislation with the new codes. This process will be finished before that date as well, 1st of July, I mean. In the end, let me once again thank the organizers for this extremely important event and reaffirm our readiness to monitor the situation after these comprehensive legislation changes and to take the necessary measures to further improve our criminal justice system. Thank you, Ms. Moderator.
Thank you very much for highlighting very significant developments in Armenia on the criminal justice system, because looking at the reforms in the CPC and the criminal code and penitentiary code, all of them three together is a challenging task, but also congratulations for looking at wide-scale consultations and adopting some of the practices that you've learned from the wider world. We believe that this is a journey that we can really look together, and I'm sure that my resident coordinator will echo the sentiments that the UN will always stand ready to support you to look at much more just and humane systems. And many congratulations also in putting in place issues around the children and also the young adults. This is extremely important dimension, so thank you for sharing these developments and the many good practices, including on the treatment of prisoners, the standards of treatments of prisoners. As you know, UNODC has a very dedicated resource to be able to support all of its member states in taking incremental steps in moving forward in this area. Congratulations to you. And now it's my proud privilege to also invite Ms. Hayuki Harutyanan, Chairperson of the Anti-Corruption Commission of Armenia, to deliver a presentation on prevention of corruption, achievements, undertaking, and challenges. Over to you, Madam.
Thank you so much. And I would like to join and immediately kind of use this opportunity to thank colleagues in Armenia, but also representation of Armenian government in Vienna being part and initiating this important event, and especially allowing us as a Corruption Prevention Commission to share our results as a part of success and achievements of the government of Armenia. So I would just like to use also the few seconds reminding and also sharing the information about the CPC. So the Corruption Prevention Commission of the Republic of Armenia has been established in late November of 2019 as a part of anti-corruption large reform and part of the commitment of the country to combat corruption, but also to adjust effective measurements to prevent the happenings of the corruption, but also reduce and fully annul the possibilities of the systemic corruption. And with that agenda, the Corruption Prevention Commission has been established by the election of the 5 commissioners with the larger mandate to prevent corruption through a number of important instruments and areas. And today I would like just to mention and share, I guess, 3 of those important aspects of our work where we can fully demonstrate what are the real results of this implementation. So the first area where the Corruption Prevention Commission and also part of the implementation of anti-corruption policy has already demonstrated great results is the system of declarations of the wealth of all public officials who are having the responsibility to declare information about their goods, properties, interests, any type of business engagement, but also the actual possessed goods and properties and expenditure for a year. And with that also, as a part of a new kind of approach to prevent corruption, the number of declarants or public officials has been extended, and currently we are covering around 9,000 public officials annually, and with those who are residing and living with public officials as a part of their family member, this number reaches to 35,000 annually. And with that, we have also extended the type of the analytical instruments that the CPC possessed previously, and established the way of analyzing declarations through which we can immediately notice the risk but also dynamics of increase of the wealth of a particular public official. And for that, we are benefiting and using very much the current development of IT technologies. And we have already started developing new system, electronic system for data collection, possession of information, but also allowing automated reporting and analysis, and that information making publicly available for larger society through publicly available web portal. And this system relies heavily on algorithmic decision-making and artificial intelligence tools, with that allowing that the system will work without any intervention of any human being in the office, but also outside of the premises of the current office of the CPC. And that's a kind of sign also that the institution is working fully independent, and operational independence of the institution is already guaranteed. Along with that, we have also started the process of legislative amendments, and currently the package is already there, which will allow the CPC also strengthen its functional and operational independency, but also will clarify a number of areas that where the mandate has not been established, or the language was not in a way that will allow fully and legitimately work in certain areas. And with that, we have also executed a very new mechanism, so-called integrity checking, which has been instituted for the first time in 2020 in the country, to conduct a deep research around candidates for certain positions, including judicial positions, prosecutorial positions, and then later in 2021, it has been extended also over the newly established institutions such as Specialized Anti-Corruption Committee, and also the relevant division in the General Prosecutor's Office. With that, I just would like to mention some of our numbers that we have already presented for the 2021. We have already conducted so far 115 integrity checking. So, and with that, we have provided 58 positive integrity opinions, and then 10 negative opinions, and 40 were positive but with the reservation, which means that certain aspects in the background of a particular candidate has been marked to be taken into consideration by the appointing institution. With that, we can fully say that we have tried to manage the risks or the possible risks that come with an individual, and then later it can kind of become already a criminal behavior within the system and harm the system itself. And we are happy also to mention that even the opinion has an advisory nature, but the integrity checking results are taken seriously by appointing agencies. With that 10 negative opinions, only two candidates were appointed, and the appointing body had justification for that kind of decision. And in order also to release any kind of suspicion that may come from the public around the integrity checking process, with the current amendments about which I have just mentioned, we are offering currently to make this opinion, the concluding remarks, publicly available once the candidate is already appointed for the position, and once it is already obvious that a certain aspects of the quality aspects of a person when it comes to professional capacities but also background are thoroughly examined. So with that, we will also create the new culture that before entering into the system, into the public office and taking or assuming a position, everyone now treats and pays a certain attention to the behavior that has been previously expressed as a part of professional duties, but also the wealth of the candidate and the family members, trying to encourage also within society that any illegal action later or soon will become part of accountability of a certain person. The other important aspect we would like to share is just trying to introduce new code of conduct for public officials. With the support of the international colleagues, we have already developed large scale of kind of regulations and established a new code of conduct for all public officials. With that, introducing rules of behavior within the institution, but also outside of institutions. So these new regulations introduce the concept and very effective implementation of it on the conflict of interest, incompatibility, other limitations, but also pay due attention on human rights concept, the aspects such as discrimination, a proper behavior in working condition with co-employees are also there to bring also the opportunity later to introduce so-called the new concept on administrative whistleblowing, which is again part of the new policy that will be adopted very soon. With the complexity of this approach, we kind of try and we are using opportunity to cover also the aspects of corruption risk within the system itself. And thanks also to the great cooperation we have received and we continue from the UNDP Armenian office, we have learned about the experience of corruption risk assessment methodology and its execution. And very soon, within the upcoming 2 or 3 months, the government of Armenia will have the chance to kind of adopt and also start the implementation process of the same methodology developed and approved by the Corruption Prevention Commission of the Republic of Armenia. Those are just the selected numbers of our work with the results that are already demonstrating the success and our achievement. And with that, I would be very much happy also to share more, answering the questions that possibly might be there. Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing such impressive results. It's never easy when it comes to increasing integrity, transparency and accountability of civil servants, including within the government officials. So many congratulations for adopting measures for asset declaration and also for the integrity code and the new code of ethics, which is extremely important, and also using measures for using technology to address issues of anti-corruption. As we speak, we have 2 representatives from Armenia now in Samarkand as part of the Silk Road Belt Initiative who are participating. Many congratulations again for the many steps that you're undertaking. We hope that Armenia will also join our Globi network and also adopt the GRACE program. But we are very happy to also see the partnership with UNDP. In the SDG goals, looking at anti-corruption measures is central to actually achieving all of our development goals. So we wish you good success in being able to implement the many steps that you're taking to have a strong anti-corruption strategy within the country. With this, let me invite Ms. Maria Silvean, who is the Human Rights, Justice and Rule of Law Program Manager, UNDP Armenia, to deliver a presentation on the Human-Centered Justice, Programmatic Cooperation of United Nations Armenia in the field of criminal justice. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. Actually, I've got PowerPoint presentation. I hope I will be able to share it.
Please do.
I'm trying to, yes. Yeah, it worked great. If you don't mind, yeah, just all is fine. Okay, so in my presentation, I will walk you through the programmatic cooperation of the UN with the government and other stakeholders, with the major focus on the work of the UNDP, which I think is obvious because I represent this agency. But from the outset, let me underline that all the efforts in the field of the justice reforms of the United Nations in Armenia are based on a core assumption affirmed in the Agenda 2030 and SDG 16 that the rule of law, justice, human rights are interlinked and mutually reinforcing concepts. This said, let me distinguish the 5 areas of our work, which are the main building blocks for an inclusive and people-centered justice program, and which I will talk about now. So these are human rights, the police reform, judicial independence and integrity, access to justice, free legal aid mechanisms, support to the National Human Rights Defender's Office, and also anti-corruption efforts. And certainly human rights programming and mainstreaming is in the core of all the programmatic activities. So let me start with the police reform. So through the EU-funded project, which is implemented by UNDP, UNICEF and UNFPA, support was provided to the police and the government of Armenia in introduction of the audio-visual recording systems in 10 pilot police stations. This corresponding practice, which was among the conditions of the EU Human Rights Budget Support Program and was successfully implemented and also considered to be one of the advanced in the region, has been launched from May 2020 and is currently operational. So the UNDP support, including international expertise and best practices sharing, development of the legal framework and capacity building of the officers of all 10 pilot police stations. Next, within the EU-funded project, again implemented jointly by UNDP, UNICEF, UNFPA, and also OSCE, support has been provided to the Ministry of Justice and the Police Educational Complex for the 5 months trainings for the new patrol police officers. As a result, the corresponding service has been launched in Yerevan from July 2021, and the launch of the service in Shirak and Law regions is currently underway. Targeted visibility initiatives were also conducted to attract more female candidates to apply for the service. Let me also provide a few highlights about our programs in the field of the justice reforms. Last year saw the role, yes, sorry. I think, yeah, I missed one of my slides, sorry about it. Here we go. Yes, I would also like to say about the expert assistance provided for a large-scale review of the police educational system to result in structural and functional changes. Also, efforts are underway for strengthening analytical capacities of the Police Operative Management Center and development of the police digital transformation roadmap. In this context, I would also like to emphasize our support to the National Preventive Mechanism, which operates within the framework of the Human Rights Defender's Office, and development and introduction of a tailored module on the notion of torture and investigative techniques, which was included into the curricula for judges, prosecutors, and investigators at the Justice Academy. So, also a few words about our efforts in the field of justice reforms. So last year, the rollout and preparations for the effective application of the first e-platform for psychological testing developed by UNDP and with the support of UNDP will accompany judicial recruitment process. The Supreme Judicial Council gained capacity to conduct psychometric assessment of candidates and ensure merit-based recruitment to underpin judicial integrity. As a result, the first 51 candidates successfully underwent e-testing. Equally, UNDP support was critical in terms of development of the communication strategy and action plan on justice and anti-corruption reforms, support to the Corruption Prevention Commission, assessing the free legal aid and access to justice, as well as design of an e-court system as an integral part of broader e-justice system. In closing, I can't miss mentioning the process of the constitutional reform, which is an umbrella for overall reform processes of the country. And UNDP, through the EU-funded project, provides support to the constitutional bodies, that is the Constitutional Reform Council, the Specialized Commission, and also the Secretariat for the development of the work plan and public outreach activities. Partnership with the civil society organization is also set for participatory and inclusive and people-centered process. With this, actually, let me thank you very much for your attention. And thank you for all the speakers for the already provided, and also, you know, for Ms. Haikui for also mentioning UNDP support to the Corruption Prevention Commission. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maria, for your presentation. We very much appreciate the contribution and partnerships that the UN system forges with the government of Armenia and taking incremental steps on looking at many dimensions of human rights, justice, and rule of law, including on police reforms, but not only that, also addressing judicial integrity issues, and also use of technology in advancing the several dimensions of the work that is required in the country. And we are hoping that we be also part more actively in Armenia on moving forward with our sister agencies in the UN on these many steps that are required still to be taken. With this, let me invite Mr. Georg Sargsyan, the Deputy Head of Department for Crimes Against Public Health, Prosecutor General's Office of Armenia, to deliver a presentation on fighting drug trafficking and other forms of crime, national efforts and challenges arising from changing crime landscape. Over to you, sir.
Բարև ձեզ հարգելի գործընկերներ, ես Գևորգ Սարգսյանն եմ, ներկայացնում եմ ՀՀ գլխավոր դատախազությունը։ Ուրախ ենք մասնակցել ՄԱԿ-ի անձնավորության կանխարգելման և քրեական արդարադատության հանձնաժողովի 31-րդ նստաշրջանի ընթացքում Հայաստանում ՄԱԿ-ի գրասենյակի, արտաքին գործերի նախարարության և ՄԱԿ-ի թմրամիջոցների և հանցավորության դեմ պայքարի գրասենյակի կողմից կազմակերպվող հարակից միջոցառմանը։ ՀՀ գլխավոր դատախազության կողմից կատարված ուսումնասիրությունները վկայում են, որ վերջին տարիներին հատկապես մեծ ծավալներ են ստացել սոցիալական կայքերի, համացանցային հեռահաղորդակցության համակարգերի, առավելապես Տելեգրամի օգտագործման թմրամիջոցների ապօրինի իրացման դեպքերը, որոնց պարագայում, որպես կանոն, իրացման ենթակա թմրամիջոցը նախապես տեղադրվում է որպես վայրում, դրա դիմաց վճարումը կատարվում է անկանխիկ, էլեկտրոնային դրամբանակների, կրիպտոարժույթի կամ բանկային հաշվեհամարների կամ այլ եղանակներով, որից հետո գնորդին փոխանցվում են ապօրինի շրջանառության առարկայի տեղադրման վայրի վերաբերյալ տվյալներ։ Սոցիալական կայքերի, համացանցային հավելվածների օգտագործման իրացման նպատակով թմրամիջոցների ապօրինի շրջանառության կանխման և խափանման առումով կարևոր նշանակություն կարող է ունենալ էլեկտրոնային հեռահաղորդակցության ոլորտում հանցագործությունների և այլ իրավախախտումների կանխման, խափանման և բացահայտման նպատակով համարժեք կառուցակարգերի մշակումը և ներդրումը, որոնք հնարավորություն կտան սահմանափակել արգելված տեղեկատվության ոչ իրավաչափ տարածումը, արգելափակել համացանցային հասանելիությունն արգելված տեղեկատվության։ Անդրադառնալով հեռահաղորդակցության հավելվածների միջոցով թմրամիջոցների իրացման դեպքերի արդիվ հարուցված քրեական գործերի քննության արդյունավետությանը, հարկ է նշել, որ ՀՀ իրավապահ մարմիններն այս ոլորտում ունեն բավականին նշանակալի հաջողություններ և 2021-22 թվականների ընթացքում ձեռնարկված լայնածավալ քննչական և դատավարական այլ գործողությունների արդյունքում ձեռք բերված մեծ ծավալի էլեկտրոնային և այլ ապացույցների, օտարերկրյա պետությունների իրավասու մարմիններին ուղարկված իրավական օգնության միջնորդությունների կատարմամբ, ստացված տեղեկատվության պատշաճ վերլուծության արդյունքում հնարավոր է եղել բացահայտել համացանցային հեռահաղորդակցության հավելվածների, առավելապես Telegram ալիքների միջոցով թմրամիջոցների ապօրինի շրջանառությամբ զբաղվող մի քանի կազմակերպված խմբերի, առգրավել է մի քանի 100 միլիոն ՀՀ դրամի թմրամիջոցներ։ Վերջին տարիներին աճել են նաև թմրամիջոցների և հոգեմետ նյութերի մաքսանենգության դեպքերը, որոնց ուսումնասիրությունը վկայում է, որ տարեցտարի ավելի մեծ տարածում են ձեռք բերում հանցագործության առարկան միջազգային փոստային առաքումների միջոցով ՀՀ պետական սահմանով տեղափոխման դեպքերը։ Նշված առաքումներն իրականացնող կազմակերպությունների կողմից լայնորեն կիրառվում են զանազան համացանցային հավելվածներ, հարթակներ և այլ ռեսուրսներ, որոնք հնարավորություն են տալիս առցանց պատվիրել առաքումներ, հետևել դրանց հետագծին, կատարել վճարումներ, իսկ նշված կազմակերպությունների կողմից չեն ձեռնարկվում բավարար միջոցներ հաճախորդների նույնականացումն ապահովելու և իրավապահ մարմինների հետ արդյունավետ համագործակցություն ապահովելու ուղղությամբ։ Նշված հանցագործության դեպքերի բացահայտման առումով իրավապահ մարմինների կողմից առաջնային նշանակություն է տրվում կիբերհանցագործությունների դեմ պայքարի համար իրականացվող միջոցառումների կիրառմանը, ինչը ենթադրում է փոստային առաքում իրականացնող կազմակերպություններից առաքման համար օգտագործված օգտարշավների գրանցման բաժանորդային տվյալների, այդ թվում էլեկտրոնային պոստի հասցեների, համացանցային հասանելիության IP հասցեների, առաքման դիմաց վճարման եղանակների, էլեկտրոնային դրամբանակների օգտագործման դեպքում դրանց բացման և շահագործման հանգամանքների վերաբերյալ, ամբողջական տեղեկատվության ժամանակին ստացումը և վերլուծությունը։ Իհարկե, Աֆղանստանում վերջին զարգացումները ենթադրում են, որ հնարավոր է առաջիկայում ակնկալել թմրամիջոցների ապօրինի տարանցման դեպքերի աճ, ինչը ենթադրում է ինչպես այլ երկրների տարածքով, այնպես էլ նաև Հայաստանի տարածքով, ինչը ենթադրում է ազգային իրավապահ համակարգի կարողությունների ամրապնդում, ինչպես նաև համապատասխան միջազգային գործընկերների հետ համագործակցության ընդլայնում այդ մարտահրավերների արդյունավետ հաղթահարման համար։ Այստեղ հարկ է համարում նշել, որ Հայաստանը լիովին գիտակցում է, որ Աֆղանստանից բխող թմրանյութերի ապօրինի տարանցման խնդիրներին դիմագրավելով մենք ապահովում ենք ոչ միայն մեր երկրի անվտանգությունն այդ վտանգավոր խնդրից, այլև որպես ենթադրյալ հնարավոր տարանցիկ երկիր նպաստում ենք վերջնական առաքման երկրների անվտանգության բարձրացմանը։ Նշված մարտահրավերների դեմ պայքարի արդյունավետությունը հնարավոր է էականորեն բարելավել ինչպես համապատասխան միջազգային կառույցների, ինչպես օրինակ ՄԱԿ-ի թմրամիջոցների և հանցավորության դեմ պայքարի գրասենյակի, այնպես էլ օտարերկրյա իրավասու մարմինների հետ արդյունավետ միջազգային համագործակցության ապահովմամբ, իրավական օգնության միջնորդությունների ժամանակին և պատշաճ կատարմամբ և օտարերկրյա իրավապահ մարմինների լավագույն փորձն ուսումնասիրելով մեր ամենօրյա աշխատանքում կիրառելու արդյունքում։ Շնորհակալություն։
Thank you for highlighting the many challenges technology presents. We do have a global digital divide, but even in the digital space and social media, this has been exploited by those who would like to traffic drugs. The dark nets are becoming not only prominent in Armenia, but across the world. And you're absolutely right, the only way forward is for increasing international cooperation and also to make sure that we're able to use that space in a much more protective manner. It's a big challenge, especially during the COVID-19 period. We saw a surge in the internet spaces and social media being used for trafficking of new psychoactive substances, amongst others. And thank you also for highlighting the risks that run because of increasing cultivation and rather production of narcotics emanating out of Afghanistan. That's a space that requires cross-border cooperation in all of the elements that you highlighted, and that's where we think that one of the roles of the UN is to bring countries together to also look at mutual cooperation. Now this brings me to really, one of our, I would say, flagship programs. This is the CASC initiative, Central Asia and Southern Caucasus initiative, and I would like to invite my colleague, Mr. Louis Messas, the Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice Officer, coordinator of the CASC network of UNODC, to deliver a presentation on enhancing crime prevention and criminal justice in Armenia and the role of mutual legal assistance and judicial cooperation. As I highlighted earlier, Armenia is an important partner in the CASC initiative, and we very much welcome your engagement. I think collectively on looking at transnational threats, not only in the seizures, but also in the backtracking of cases becomes important. And we do need the judges, the prosecutors to also network with each other to have good results. With this, over to you, Louis.
Many thanks, Ashita. Many thanks. I'm the coordinator of the Secretariat of the Judicial Cooperation Network for Central Asia and South Caucasus network. As my colleague Ashita said, Armenia, the Prosecutor General's Office of Armenia, is one of the most active members of CASC network. I would like to highlight this. And also, well, as I said, Armenia is a member of this network, but there are also other members. Other members are the Prosecutor General's offices of Azerbaijan, Georgia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan. And also the Ministry of Justice of Armenia participates sometimes, and when it is necessary, in activities of CASC network, even if the contact points are provided by the Prosecutor General's office. The CASC network is an operational network composed of contact points officially nominated by the central authorities. And these contact points, one of the main features is that they are entitled to obtain and provide information on judicial cooperation requests through informal direct consultations. And these informal direct consultations are complementary to formal channels. Through these direct consultations, informal direct consultations, the contact points can prepare requests, mutual legal assistance or extradition requests, to make sure that the request will be properly prepared and sent. They can also obtain and provide information on the state of execution of the request, or they can identify problems and also identify solutions. So the contact points of CASK network can play the role of active intermediaries between central authorities and also between the central authority of Armenia and practitioners. And this has a clear impact on the judicial cooperation. Well, the secretariat of the network provided by UNODC is particularly committed to facilitate the interregional judicial cooperation, assisting in conducting informal consultations with the representatives of central authorities in other regions of the world. We have done this recently, particularly I can mention complex requests, complex cases referring to countries in the Caribbean region or in Africa, West and East Africa. So, well, so the Secretariat of CASK network provided by UNODC provides this support to the contact points of Armenia in liaising with other central authorities, and also the Secretariat promotes the mutual trust and the operational connection between CASK network and other regional judicial cooperation networks around the world, and even with central authorities that do not participate in networks. In addition, CASK network develop tools and manuals for practitioners and officials of the central authorities, provide technical assistance on information technologies to improve the use of information technologies for mutual legal assistance, among other things. As we are a bit late, I would like to conclude here to give time for other interventions or questions. So over to you, Ashita. Many thanks.
Thank you for sharing. I totally agree that we have a very active partner in Armenia for the CASK network. I hope that this partnership goes from strength to strength. And Luis, thank you for highlighting that actually the essence is mutual trust. And what the UN system can do is to bring you together with other international networks for judicial cooperation. This is extremely important dimension of the work we do across the region, but very much welcome this partnership that Armenia has forged with all of the other 7 countries in being able to move forward on these complex challenges. With this, I would like to really invite and open up the floor for discussions and any questions. We have with us almost 54 participants, and I think it's always nice that the best part of the side event is when we open up for further questions and inquiry. So can I request everyone who would like to ask a question to just raise their hand? You can introduce yourself and just ask the question.
And maybe to radio silence, I can start, unless there's a hand.
Yes. Please go ahead, Leila.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you to all the the presentation were great, but maybe we could ask each of the presenters to talk about one challenge they face and all the great work they're doing.
Sure. May I invite the first speaker to talk, Arpin Sargsyan, any challenge that you face that you think that we can partner on? Your big challenge.
Thank you very much for the question. The big challenge in the reform of the criminal justice is to understand every stakeholder's interest and try to have a consensus between all stakeholders, with civil society especially, and taking into account the huge reform concerning the criminal justice. It is very difficult to have a consensus between all stakeholders, but I would like to highlight that we have already managed to have such kind of cooperation concerning new criminal code and new criminal procedure code. Currently, we are working in the framework of our new penitentiary code, and I do hope that we will have the same solution to this code as well.
Thank you. And let's now hear from the Anti-Corruption Commission. Over to you, Ayuki.
Thanks. Yes, and thank you so much. So immediately, the main challenge that we have faced analyzing declarations is that under the UN Convention Against Corruption, there is no the mechanism of exchanging information for the prevention agencies. The enforcement can access and through the mutual support also receive information when it is necessary. But as in our case, we do not start a criminal case. Exchange of information when, for example, we have an kind of suspicion that a particular piece of property is outside of Armenia, we are not able to get information around that, and it really kind of creates difficulties for us to present the whole picture of a wealth of a particular person. And the second, I guess, very much related to that is that, like, in general, I guess that we are lacking as a new established institution, and because of COVID, we are lacking a chance of participating in big networks and becoming a part of the big networks, especially on preventive type of kind of work. And we would like really to receive any kind of support and information to become a more active member of existing networks and groups of the same mandate and issue.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the points that you make, and I think this is really a larger question for the UNCAC itself. Although the very big part of the UNCAC, the pillar, is prevention, we need to find dimensions of exchange of information that allow for agencies to cooperate together. This is something that I will raise with our own section. And then now let's have Maria Silvian, if you would like to say what is your challenge from the UN perspective.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, just from a little bit another, perspective, I would like to say very shortly that maybe, one of the challenges, not the main one, of course, is time and resources to provide, all the support and expertise that we can as UN provide to the national authorities.
Thank you. Thank you. That's a very, very important part. We have our aspirations. We need the resources to match the many challenges. And I think that's where we can really think of how do we optimally get the resources that are required to address these issues. And now let me ask also Mr. Georg Sargsyan, what's your big challenge for the prosecutor's office? Sorry, you're muted. Sorry, Mr. Sargsyan, you're muted. Unmute yourself.
You hear me?
Thank you. Yes, now we hear you.
Thank you. Ինչպես ես արդեն իմ հիմնական խոսքում նշեցի, հիմնական մարտահրավերները Հայաստանի Հանրապետության իրավապահ մարմինների մոտ հմրամիջոցների ապօրինի շրջանառության դեմ պայքարի համատեքստում կանում են նրանում, որ ներկայումս փոխվել է թմրամիջոցների ապօրինի շրջանառության նախկինում հայտնի ձևերը եւ արդեն գերազանցապես սկսել է թմրամիջոցների ապօրինի շրջանառությունը իրականացնել on-line համացանցային եղանակներով, համացանցային հաղորդակցության միջոցների կիրառմամբ, on-line հարթակների կիրառմամբ, Telegram հավելվածի եւ այլ հավելվածների օգտագործմամբ, ինչը մեծ խնդիրներ է առաջացնում դրանց բացահայտման ուղղությամբ, ինչպես նաեւ դրանց դիմաց վճարումների հետ կապված այս փոխվել է նորից եղանակները կրիպտոարժույթով, էլեկտրոնային դրամբանակներով, սակայն ինչպես ես նշեցի, մենք բազմաթիվ անգամներ նաև մեր օտարերկրյա գործընկերների արդյունքում մենք ունենք սրա հետ կապված արդեն բավականին լավ փորձ եւ օտարերկրյա իրավապահ հետ արդյունավետ համագործակցության փորձ իրավական օգնության միջնորդությունների ստացման առումով Եվ մեկ այլ երկրորդ շատ կարևոր նաև առանձնացնեմ մարտահրավեր, որ հիմա իրավապահ մարմինները պարբերաբար դրան առնչվում են Հայաստանի Հանրապետության, դրանք փոստային ծառայությունների միջոցով ստացվող թմրամիջոցներն են Հայաստանի Հանրապետության թմրամիջոցների եւ հոգեմետ նյութերի մաքսանենգությունը։ Սրա հետ կապված նույնպես հաշվի առնելով այն on-line հարթակները, այն տեխնիկական միջոցները, որոնք օգտագործում են այդ թմրամիջոցները պատվիրելու եւ դրա դիմաց նորից վճարելու, կրկին դժվարացնում են դրանց դեմ պայքարը, սակայն դրա նաև կարիք են առաջացնում օտարերկրյա պետություններից տեղեկատվության ստացման, ինչը տևում է բավականին երկար ժամանակ եւ շատ լավ կլիներ, որ մեր օտարերկրյա գործընկերները մեր ուղարկած իրավական օգնության միջնորդությունները ամբողջությամբ պատշաճ կատարեն եւ էականորեն կհեշտացներ իրավապահ մարմինների համար նշված գործերի քննությունը։ Այսքանը կարծում եմ, շնորհակալություն։
Thank you. Cybercrime is a big issue, and of course, looking at sharing of information, also to look at new tracking, also the sale of drugs on through the mails, and contactless delivery and cryptocurrencies. And this is one area on which UNODC has expertise, and I will definitely connect my sections to see how we can work with the RCO and with you to also step up our work in this direction. Now, let me also invite Louis, if you can talk about your one big challenge that you have from the other side.
Yeah, well, in fact, I would like to mention three briefly. Yeah, the first one is the legislation of other countries is not enough. No, and these problems are common for central authorities and practitioners all over the world. So first, the legislation of other countries is not known, and this results in fails. So the MLA requests, the mutual legal assistance requests, so often fail because of this lack of knowledge. The second problem is it's a situation that is quite anachronic in the 21st century. The mutual legal assistance is paper-based still now. So this means this is time-consuming. And in addition, there is no further interaction beyond than signing and sending letters. And the third problem is the need to establish a coordination of the investigations at an early stage. So CAS Network is providing solutions for these three problems. For the first problem is solved by establishing these direct communications, these direct informal contacts to prepare requests. The second, the problem about no further interaction is also solved by these direct informal consultations, complementary to formal channels. And the third one is also CAS Network is promoting the coordination between Prosecutor General's offices at an early stage, particularly in cases of drug trafficking. And there is also one challenge that I mentioned as the origin of the second challenge, the mutual legal assistance paper-based, and we are now working to provide a solution for this. The solution is digitally transmitted mutual legal assistance requests through secure communication channels. We are very keen to provide solutions to approach the solutions. Many thanks.
Thank you very much. While we look at the work that is, the excellent work that has happened within Armenia and some very good, good practices that have emerged. And thank you for also encouraging us to talk about the challenges, because that gives us the forward-looking vision on what we need to collectively work on. It's something which requires incremental steps and commitment from all of us, and how the role that we have is to try to bring the best practices that could also answer some of the questions that you faced today. With this, I would like to now invite the closing remarks from the resident coordinator first, and then from Excellency, the Honorable Ambassador. So over to you, Leila.
Thank you very much. And dear colleague, thank you for this very rich discussion. I have to say that it was really great to hear this strong ownership and leadership from the Armenian institution. You are driving the reforms. I congratulate you also for identifying clearly your concrete results, but also pointing out to your challenges. I also would like to underline what Deputy Minister of Justice, Pin Saranjan, mentioned. She mentioned an important point in her presentation. She said the importance also to monitor the implementation of the criminal justice reform that Armenia is doing. This is to be praised because, as you know, as part of the SDGs, this is one of the major issues to monitor, so we are able to report. So congratulations on that. I'm also very pleased that my colleagues from the United Nations were able to present what we are collectively doing together, but also we have identified concrete steps on how we can further support. And I'd like to conclude with that to say my office is available to mobilize and to encourage my colleagues to continue to support you. And again, thank you very, very much, Excellency Ambassador, for initiating with my colleague Ashita this event, and I hope we'll have other opportunities. It is imperative that Armenia showcase what it's doing, because you're doing a lot of very, very interesting and courageous work. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Excellency, may I invite you to also deliver your closing remarks?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed. I would like to thank our keynote speakers for their excellent and comprehensive, I would say even insightful presentation. And also would like to once again thank all our partners and participants for organizing this, I think, very much useful and timely event to learn about the achievements and but also about the challenges. As I already stressed in my welcome speech, Armenia has been steadily enhancing the scope of its cooperation with the UNODC, ranging from preventing and countering organized crime to combating corruption, addressing drug problems and drug trafficking and other forms of crime, which is a crucial national endeavor for Armenia, of course. We also believe that through strengthening the national crime prevention and criminal justice system in close cooperation, of course, with the UNODC, especially in such areas as combating transnational crimes, money laundering, drug trafficking, trafficking in human beings, etc., and also bearing in mind the unique location of our country on the crossroads of the East and West, North and South, Armenia will contribute to the regional and international efforts in this area, to the building up the resilience of our region to those crimes, and also to the achievement of SDG and 2030 agenda. So developing national capacities, including through training and sharing of expertise and knowledge, as well as organization of education and awareness raising campaign and assistance to law enforcement authorities. These are the ways and the means how the UNODC could assist and support the Armenian authorities in full implementing its commitments under various conventions and protocols. As you know, we have been working with UNODC to put our cooperation into a framework to make it more structural and result-oriented, with a strong belief and understanding that this joint endeavor will be beneficial not only for Armenia but also for our wider region and beyond. We hope so very much to contribute to that efforts. So bearing that in mind, Armenia looks forward to launching our framework of cooperation with the UNODC and would highly appreciate the interest of our partner countries to support these important undertakings. In closing, once again, I would like to thank wholeheartedly our co-organizers of this excellent event, side event, and for their energy invested into this event, and all participants, and of course the panelists for their excellent presentation. Once again, thank you very much, and I wish you a nice afternoon and the rest of the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Let me add my words of appreciation. And Lila, I thought you wanted to say something before I close it. Lila, over to you. No? But a big round of applause for everyone who joined us today, and to say, may this partnership grow from strength to strength. And Excellency, we are committed to support Armenia, and not only as UNODC, but as a UN system in taking its very positive steps. It's a journey that we embark on together. All the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye. Have a nice day.